Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about pellet stoves that I've tested that I would not recommend, or that I recommend the least. Most of them are already going, but one of them's not. It must have went out, so let's get that going. And if you're not using a flamethrower to start your pellet stoves or your wood stoves or your campfires, you're doing it wrong. So first, let's talk about the patio stove that I turned into a hot tent stove. I ended up putting a pipe reducer on top of this and then adding stovepipe to go out my hot tent. And while this is freaking awesome looking, you get a spiral effect of the fire, and the fire goes like all the way up to the top. It's really cool. It throws some heat from here, but the burn time because of the hopper is rather short. And I don't know how practical this is inside of your hot tent. The whole thing is glass. If anything happens to it, you're kind of screwed. But as a patio stove, this is pretty cool. I do also want to add, the leg ended up breaking off at some point in time. I don't know how or when or who did that, but one of the legs is broken off and is currently tied up to this piece of wood right here. It's currently going, but not going very well, and I don't know why that is. So the first one that I wouldn't recommend for a hot tent is this one. Stoves are all set up. You know what time it is. Step 2 time. Hey, Shim Shim. Second least recommended stove is this one from Solo Wilder. This was a paid review. This company paid me to review this stove. And honestly, it is the worst performing stove I own. Worst performing pellet stove, because I have worse stoves, wood stoves. But if you can see, there's almost no flame here at all. And that is one of the biggest problems I have with this stove. For some reason, once the pellets start burning, the flame dies out, and you get almost no flame from this at all. And then eventually it burns out. And I don't know why. The company couldn't tell me why. I still can't figure out why. And honestly, I don't care. Because let me show you another reason why this stove sucks. Now you might be thinking, wow, that's a short stovepipe. And you'd be right. Because it only comes with 3 stovepipes and then the cap. Not big enough to go through any stove jack, any roof of any tent. And if it does go through it, it's not tall enough to be safe in any tent. And this is how the company sells it. I told them that they need to add more pipes, and they said it's up to the end user to buy more pipes for their stove. Currently, the stove isn't available on Amazon, and I think my review had something to do with that. Because I would not recommend this stove. On to the next. Chickens, come on, these are so hot. Can you all move? Oh, God, all the chickens are coming now. This one's hot. And it does a good job until it doesn't do a good job. I have sealed up this hopper at first. This was the first hopper pellet stove I've ever owned and ever tested. Besides maybe the shit hits the fan stove in the back there. But I used this one for so long. I bought this one myself. I wasn't in contact with the company. So all this testing was done on my own time and on my own dime. Man, that's hot. Oh, you see that smoke? That's the biggest problem with this one. This hopper has a tendency to fill up with smoke. I hope that's on camera. Hold on. Oh yeah, that hopper's in film, in frame. So I ended up putting a stove gasket around this top and putting stove sealer all around the hopper. So the hopper's actually one piece. And I thought that would have fixed the burn. Ow, frig. The burn count 2. Now my knee's burning too. I thought that would have fixed the problem with the smoke and the fire going up in the hopper, but it did not. So I quickly put this stove onto the back burner and stopped using it. Because there's better ones in my collection. I can't remember who this is from, but I'll leave a link to my original review video down in the description down below if you're interested in seeing the whole review video on this one. The cool thing about this is that it has an oven and the oven works. But again, that is not good. This is the stove that I used in the floating hot tent video. And I woke up in the morning with this off of the stove because it ended up filling with wood gas and then exploding at some point in time throughout the night and popping the top off. So this one, third in the list that I would not recommend. Now this is a rocket stove from shithitsthefan.com. This stove works pretty well. I've never had the hopper fill up with smoke. That's pro number one. But con number one is sometimes the pellets go out. They smother themselves down in the bottom. The ashes don't clear themselves out properly, and the ashes end up smothering the fire. So it can go out in that aspect. Now, don't get me wrong. It is absolutely freaking awesome to have a griddle on your stove. But the reason why this is last on the list of pellet stoves that I wouldn't recommend let's let that calm down, is because shithitsthefan.com no longer sells the griddle for it. Now, if you're going to use this in a hot tent, I highly recommend getting the griddle, because what the griddle does is it captures all the heat and makes a heat exchange inside of your tent before the flame goes directly up the flue. Otherwise, the fire is down here and it goes straight up the flue instantly. There's nothing that catches the heat and it just goes right up the flue. So I feel like you need this griddle. I don't know why they stopped selling the griddle. I'm not sure. But without the griddle, I'm not sure I can recommend this stove. That's a list of all the pellet stoves that I'd least recommend that I've tested out so far. Let me know what you guys think of those stoves. And here's a video on why you should or shouldn't switch to a pellet stove in your hot tent. And over here is a video of my most recommended pellet stoves for hot tents. Go check those out. Thanks a lot for joining me on this least favorite pellet stove adventure. See you on the next one. Cheers.